What do you think about feedback?
The most precious tool of all. I generally preach that you should not let your creativity go wild and that you should focus on what the market needs. However, you have to complete your projects and get some feedback before narrowing down your own way. The fact that you are working on totally different music subgenres tells something about your personality. Even in the case where you produced something totally different compared to your previous releases, you have to let your audience decide if they can relate to this new output or if they find it irrelevant.
Okay.
This kind of unbalanced movement will eventually provide the centeredness that you need. But when you are in the early stages and you ask for too much feedback, in the best case scenario you are asking for directions and in the worst for validation. The time for you to embrace feedback is when you feel so good about your output and you are able to discern the constructive feedback from the deconstructive feedback. And that is impossible in the early years of music production. And you have to be really open and calm when receiving feedback, because most of the times what you will hear you won't like, but you have to take it for consideration. No matter if feedback hurts you, those are vital information for your survival. I receive demos every day and sometimes I get some decent tracks which I want to release or promote, but they have some small flaws that need to be fixed. And I instruct the producer in such way: your track is very nice, but I have some suggestions only for you to consider. You have to be really cautious not to hurt their feelings. So maybe you should consider reducing the overall length of your track a little bit, or maybe increase the volume of your kick a little bit, because it's bearably hearable. And sometimes they go like, thanks, but I was not looking for an artistic intervention in my creations. And I reply, those are not artistic interventions. Those are more like technocratic refinements from someone who developed the ability to foresee how your audience will react. The thing is that when I listen to a track, I momentarily represent the audience. If I bothered getting back to you with a feedback, it means I liked your track. It means I am momentarily your fan. And if you are not willing to adjust your output according to what your fans like, according to what your fans want from you, you have no future in the music scene. And of course I check those artists back after a few years and they are as I left them, or they totally gave up. How will you be able to move forward if you make music for yourself and not for others? Feedback is vital. And eventually, at some point, they all get in position to say, oh, I can see now what he meant by that. I give advices frequently. People rarely listen, or they listen what they want to listen. How many times someone gave you a keen advice and you thought, What the fuck does he know about music production anyway? I see producers having inabilities to deal with other people's opinion all the time. I see producers mistreat their feedback or merely ignore it. We constantly see producers releasing tracks without releasing a demo first, to check what kind of impact this demo has on their audience. That is a wrong thing to do, but we all do it. We release stuff without getting feedback first. Your audience should decide if your track is worth merchandising, not you. And although we have all the means of the world to verify that, we still don't use them. What do you think is SoundCloud for? SoundCloud is there so you can see if your track is working or not before you try to sell it. But people think SoundCloud is there to drive people over to your Spotify profile or to create an impression by the big numbers of followers you have. So we upload a song on SoundCloud after it gets released officially, without taking the feedback for consideration. And that is why 99% of producers fail. They lack in understanding the new, reformed music industry. If your desire for feedback comes from wanting someone to approve what you have done, wanting someone to validate that you are talented, you have a problem. We need feedback to improve and develop, not for validation. So if feedback makes you mad, it's because it goes against your preconceptions and you look for validation. If you don't accept feedback, it's because you think your track is perfect. Well, it isn't perfect. Surviving in the music scene is a matter of balance. And what comes first and foremost is the strong feeling of knowing where exactly you are good at and the ability to hold your center. You can see that huge mistake on people's CV over and over again. People tend to include on their CVs all different activities and skills they had in their lives because they think that that kind of diversity will amaze the reader. But the recruiter does not want to see that diversity because diversity means lack of expertise. He wants to see on your CV that you have been a receptionist for all your life. If he's looking to fill a receptionist position, for example, he doesn't want to see that 2 years ago you worked as a waiter and 5 years ago you worked as an assistant accountant. And that is a very common mistake that producers do. They try to show off all their capabilities. And they do a techno track, and they do a trance track, and a house track, with the hope that they will impress. But the music industry people are not impressed in that way. None of what you do matters unless it flows from your true expertise, from your true skills, from your genuine self. Look within yourself and find what matters most, what your inner self commands. That is the fastest way to success.